Well, to be honest with you, and this is going to be incredibly provocative, so I would love for you to push back on this, is that my belief is that um, when it comes to growth, if you're an organization that has a great product and you do incredible marketing and you can, be an organization that thinks about how do we push our products, our services, our information out to the public in compelling and delightful ways, my belief is that you'll never need a salesperson for the rest of your life.
Welcome to the Sales Problem Podcast, where we talk everything sales, success, and personal growth. Thanks for joining us. Let's get growing.
Welcome back to the Sales Problem Podcast. This is Season 5, Episode number 4. And here is what we're going to give you today. Are you confused with all the chatter around AI? Are you unsure where to start or which platform to even look at? Or are you excited, enrolled, engaged, and ready to go deep into AI with enthusiasm? Well, today we have Shawn Kanungo on the pod. And no matter where you are, in today's episode, we're going to uncover some dangerous ideas for you to take away. So buckle up, because this is the episode for the bold ones. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Burns, and this is the podcast that looks to shift you from sales problem to sales opportunity. I want to help you grow your sales, but I also want to help you grow yourself. So I bring on the very best guests from all over the world, so that as you drive to your next sales call, you get sales lessons, you get insights from thought leaders and industry champions that are going to help you create your best version. And as always, I'm drinking out of my Sales Problem Podcast mug. And of course, we've got our partners, Crank Coffee. Today, I'm drinking a little bit of Get Cranked. And I want to take this little coffee spot in a different direction, because we're always talking about how to grow your sales, how to be productive. But I got a new little ritual that I've been playing with, and it's getting a cup of Crank Coffee. It's summertime here in Canada. I've been going down by the water, just sitting in the mornings, sipping on a nice cup of coffee. A little bit of time just to start the day before things get crazy. Maybe enjoy it with somebody that you love. A little bit of time for your mental health. Just something to think about, and Crank Coffee is the perfect partner for that. If you're on the road, our other partner, Mama T's Protein Cookies. Today I picked up a mint chocolate protein cookie. 21 grams of protein. If you're out there and you're looking for a sweet treat and you have not yet tried, after all these podcasts I've been telling you to try Mama T's, go grab one. Nutritious, delicious, clean ingredients. Give it a try. As always, I'm going to link both of these great products in the show notes. Type in the Sales Problem 15. You're going to get 15% off both of these. They're going to get shipped to your door. I just can't make it any easier than that. And listeners, that is the business. Let's get on to the focus of our podcast. And before I read any of the bio, I got to tell you why I wanted this man on the podcast, because I saw him in, I think it was February, at a national sales meeting in Vancouver. And it's 25 years in sales for me. So every year there's a kickoff speaker. So I have seen kind of some of the who's who of speakers. And let me tell you, this guy is absolutely top 3 for me. He was funny. I love that he challenged the thinking of the audience. And I was writing notes furiously. You leave with 3 to 5 really great insights. And I was standing at the end thinking, God, I hope he comes on the podcast, and he's here today. So I'm super excited. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. As a globally recognized innovation strategist and best-selling author, Shawn Kanungo has emerged as one of the world's most sought after voices on innovation and generative AI. Kanungo was named the best virtual keynote speaker I've ever seen by Forbes. And I got to say, I agree with Forbes on that one. And recognized as one of Edify's top 40 under 40. He brings over 2 decades of experience working with Fortune 500 companies. His expertise spans artificial intelligence, cloud technologies, and behavioral economics, enabling him to guide organizations through complex transformation. He made history as the first innovation expert with a streaming special on Apple TV and Prime Video. I watched it for the second time today. It's awesome. So go watch that. And get his best-selling book, The Bold Ones. It's celebrated by McKinsey as essential reading for decision makers. He provides a thought-provoking blueprint for professionals and organizations to embrace bold innovation in an era of unprecedented change. Shawn, welcome to the Sales Problem Podcast. Are you ready to help us solve the sales problem?
I'm absolutely ready. It's such a pleasure to be on this podcast. I've been waiting for a while now, and I do have to apologize because I think we rescheduled a couple of times because of my schedule. And part of the reason why I had to reschedule is because I didn't have my, crank coffee and Mama T's protein. But, if I had those, I would be thinking clearly. And now I am thinking clearly because I have those 2 things, the only 2 things that I need in my life. And just a pleasure to be on. And of course, I was going to come on the pod. And actually, what's funny is that I think you reached out before I was supposed to be at the conference, and it just serendipitously happened where I was at the conference, I was doing the keynote, and we were able to meet afterwards. And so I'm just glad that we were able to do it.
Awesome. I am excited for today. So, and you're a Canadian too, so I can send you some of that crank coffee and Mama T's.
Please,
and get it right over to you so you can crank it up.
Love it.
So you said you want to have some fun today. I'm going to go right off script here.
Let's
the very first question, because you are a guy, if anybody's watching the podcast right now, not just listening, you are a guy that has fantastic hair. Okay. Now I'm a guy that takes, a lot of care of the hair. I'm just wondering,
great hair.
Do you think this might be today the most powerful collaboration on the internet right now of hair?
I think what we've done it. I think this is the duo that everybody's been waiting for. If you're watching this on YouTube, rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do, because this is the most beautiful podcast you'll ever watch.
Awesome. I got to get into the question that started this whole podcast, because we've really looked at how do we get growth for organizations year over year. That was the original sales problem is, you do really well one year. How do you keep it going the next year? But I always like to ask my guests, what do you think is the biggest sales problem that teams are facing right now, or individuals, in terms of getting growth in an organization?
Well, to be honest with you, and this is going to be incredibly provocative, so I would love for you to push back on this, is that my belief is that when it comes to growth, if you're an organization that has a great product and you do incredible marketing and you can, be an organization that thinks about how do we push our products, our services, our information out to the public in compelling and delightful ways, my belief is that you'll never need a salesperson for the rest of your life. In fact, if you're incredible at marketing and you have an incredible product, the goal is for you to have demand flooding through the door, and so that you just have to just pick and choose. And I think the biggest opportunity for salespeople is how do you actually turn yourself into a marketing machine? How do you turn yourself into not a salesperson, but into someone that solves people's problems and to help educate individuals around what you're doing? I don't think enough salespeople are doing that in terms of turning themselves into a media machine and convincing and persuading people to that whatever they have is going to solve their problem. And I think, please push back on this, because, I'll just say, in my business, unfortunately, I haven't done any sales ever. I mean, I do have a sales team that helps me. I have a couple of agency partners on the brand side and the speaking side, but my team does not do any sales because we just are incredible at marketing, and we get that demand in and the demand generation in. So now we can be picky and choosy around who we work with. So that's, I think, what an incredible organization with growth potential should be focusing on.
That is provocative indeed, considering salespeople right now are going like, what do you mean?
Angry. Salespeople are angry. But please push back on it because yeah.
Yeah. Are you kind of talking about people seeing themselves more as a brand and being able to, create media that really talks about how they do solve problems, how they implement, how they support, the extra things that they do when that's needed as part of a sales.
That's it. And I think if salespeople can really treat themselves not as just, these ninja, hunters that are going out in the field and just all they do is hunt. How can you be an individual that can bring the prey to you and say, hey, I want to work with this individual because they're telling great stories. They're telling a great narrative. They have a product that works. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I remember when I worked 12 years at a firm called Deloitte. I was in their management consulting group, and part of the job that I had was sales. And I was managing projects and I was also selling. And what I realized is that, wait a minute, if you share out your ideas, if you help people solve problems leveraging content, or whether it's events or speaking or social media, whatever it might be, podcasts, the more that people know who you are and what you're all about and the problems that you're trying to solve, people will come to you as opposed to you going out and hunting. And to me, that's turning your salespeople into marketers. And, that's the reason why I wanted to start with this idea of marketing, because I think many sales people forget that they have a lever to pull, which is how do you turn yourself into this magnet so that demand comes to you?
Salespeople, I hope you are listening. There are so many people, Shawn, that I've talked to who are struggling with that right now, and how to get into social media. And hey, salespeople, are you creating demand? Do people know who you are? Do they know the amazing things that you do, the ways you take care of people, the way you have trust and relationships with people? It's all great, but if nobody knows about it and there's no demand coming in, are you really leveraging it all you could?
Yeah. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily just have to be about social media. It could be about you running your own events. It could be running a WhatsApp group with your ICP. It could be, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to necessarily be you putting out a TikTok video and dancing. It could be, very much really related to the skill set that you might have, whether it's on audio or video or hosting dinners or, running a membership group or, a Facebook group or whatever it might be. I just think that, there's so many ways of developing trust and affinity with your target accounts. That doesn't necessarily have to be about you, just hunting all day long.
Oh, I love it. We're shaking it up already.
Hey, listen, this is part of it. And we didn't even get to the AI portion of it. So,
well, I want to dig into something that I heard you say as part of your keynote, because it hit me right between the eyes. It was around the idea of nostalgia, specifically letting go of the things that we've done, even when they've worked in the past. And I heard you say, thank your past self and then bury it. Why is this so important? And how do you think people kind of get stuck in nostalgia?
Yeah. My observation working with some of the most, successful organizations in the world, or some of the most disruptive organizations in the world, is that actually the most successful organizations are the most vulnerable to disruption. The reason why they're the most vulnerable is because they become incredibly successful, fat, rich, and lazy, and they they rest on the laurels of what made them successful. And when the environment changes around them, they get caught, and it's very difficult to pivot. And even though you might recognize the change happening, or even though you might recognize some of the disruptors that are out there, you become stuck in your ways. And that's what's nostalgia. You become romantic about what was working in the past. And I think that the environment has just shifted. And I think AI is going to change every sales process, every sales executive, every sales leader in every single organization and industry. And the environment is changing us around us. And so it requires us to have a new mindset, a new skill set. It requires us to understand, how is this technology going to change, how we do things and how we approach work. And that requires us to maybe even let go of what made us successful. And that doesn't mean that what you did before will not be relevant in the future. It means that you need to let go of what made you successful. It means letting go of ego. It means saying, how do I become a rookie again? And going back down to the bottom and say, listen, there are new tools that are coming out. Let me roll up my sleeves and figure it out. There are new ways of working. Let me roll up my sleeves and figure it out. To me, that's what it's all about. And I think ego gets in the way of recognizing that there is a new world, and that's where people get caught.
It's an interesting idea, because you really do try to figure out the puzzle, and then when you get it working, you just want to stay in that lane because everything's working. So, why would we upset the apple cart in that way? But I hear you saying disruption. So how do you decide when to disrupt things or when to keep things kind of trucking along if the results are still okay?
Yeah. Well, to me, actually, I think it's important to have a disruption mindset, which is really around it's always experimenting. It's always exploring. It's always taking a look at what are the technologies that people are using or exploring, or taking a bet around, what the future is going to look like. Because what you're going to ultimately do is you're going to start to build a muscle around sensing what the future is going to be, and you don't want to get caught. Let me give you an example of this. I started my career at a company called Singapore Press Holdings in Singapore. They had a monopoly over all the newspapers in Singapore. And my job there was to be their media strategist, to be their futurist, to figure out what the future of newspapers were going to look like. And to be honest with you, I had no idea how to do this job, none whatsoever. I remember going to my boss at the time. His name was Tony Malik. I'm like, hey man, how do I go about doing this job around what the future of newspapers is going to look like? He said, it's really easy, Shawn. What I want you to do is take the best processes from the best companies in the world, and then take those best processes and implement them in Singapore Press Holdings. I said, that sounds like a really great idea. Take the best processes from the best companies and implement them here. The other thing that he told us to do was to go on the street and ask people what they wanted from a newspaper. I said, that's an amazing idea too. And what was interesting is that the people in the street, and actually the best companies in the world, said the same thing, which is, how do you take a broadsheet newspaper and turn it into a tabloid-sized newspaper? That's what people are talking about in the early 2000s. And at the time, what was bubbling up was Facebook and Twitter and all these ways that people were garnering attention. And I never would have thought that the primary way that people get information today is through TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I never would have thought that. And I think I am the reason why the newspaper industry sucks, because I didn't pay attention to those big disruptors that are coming out. And my observation was that you can be optimizing your business all day long, but you might be playing a different game than everybody else. You see, the game that we were playing was, how do we optimize the printing paper business, when the question that we should have been asking is, how do we delight and entertain our audience in fundamentally new ways? And we forgot that. And that's why we missed the disruptors that are coming out. And so I think when there are new technology shifts or new ways of doing things, we have to pay attention, because it changes the game that we're actually playing. And so that's why it's important to have this healthy disruption mindset.
Ask new questions, get new answers, and
that's it.
Disrupt the game, and you're playing a whole new game. Sometimes you're playing it by yourself and you lose some of your competitors.
100%. And I think the best disruptors are the ones that can ultimately play a game that no one else is playing. And that just is, how do you become remarkable? How do you become unique? How do you become different? I think what many people get wrong about strategy, and this is the space that I've spent my entire career on, strategy, people think that strategy is about being the best, or it's being about the most excellent person in the game. To me, strategy is about how do you become a freak? How do you become unique? How do you become differentiated? And when you do that, you become the only person in your particular field that's doing things differently. And I think that's something that we often forget, is that how do we become incredibly different and unique and differentiated, so that not only from an intention perspective, but from a value perspective as well.
Absolute masterclass already, Shawn. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get your perspective, because I speak with a lot of sales leaders and executives as well. Why do you think that there is sometimes this 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 belief that, hey, this is what we've been doing in the past, this has been working? It's almost like sticking to the status quo. Why do you think that exists for so many sales executives?
I think you get stuck a little bit because you do get results. So, trying to kind of come up with new things, that's the part of this job that I love, is trying to put a different spin on things. So if it works, how can we kind of break it a little bit, try it a different way? But at the same time, you're getting pushed for results. So, and you have to do something. So the easiest thing to do is, well, we're going to continue to do more of the same thing. And if it's working and you're getting results, I think that's where people just kind of end up getting stuck. Hey, you know what? The wheel's not broken, so
Yeah,
don't fix it.
yeah. And I think I totally get that. And I think the beautiful part about sales, which is something that you don't see in every single industry, is that sales is almost depending on what industry that you're in, it's almost unlimited. Like the results that you can get are uncapped, and that's what's exciting about it, is that it's based on your own potential. And when that's the case, you can think bigger and bolder. And that's what I love about sales, is that you can, the most ambitious sales professionals are the ones that will win, because it's really about thinking bigger and bolder and experimenting more. And that's what I love about the practice of it. And those that do it, will get incredible results.
Shawn, I think this episode is going to help so many people, because I see so many salespeople that are starting, they're trying to reinvent themselves. They're trying to do things differently, but I'm not sure that they know exactly where to go. So next question is for the salesperson that is out there on the road right now. They're looking for growth, they're looking to get results, and they're going, okay, I know I have to incorporate AI. I know this is a leverage piece for me, but where would you tell them to start so that they can get some growth this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the first thing, especially when it comes to AI, is taking a look at some of the most powerful use cases when it comes to AI and sales right now. Many people have been trying to disrupt the sales development rep role, the SDR role, leveraging sales, or even the outreach, salesperson. And, the ability to send, the ability to find leads, to prospect leads, to send outreach emails is becoming almost commoditized. And what's funny is that it's becoming so commoditized that at some point it's going to be not as valuable anymore, because that's with any sales channel, is as it becomes abundant and easy to do, and creating very hyper personalized emails, it becomes less valuable. But today there's still an arbitrage where most people don't recognize that you can do this at scale. And so I think it's constantly figuring out where are the opportunities to do that. So, the AI SDR piece is the easiest component. But as a salesperson, I would take a look at everything that you do in your calendar and ask yourself, where can I automate some of this stuff, and where do I actually need to slow things down? Meaning, there's so much work that a sales leader does or a sales executive does where it's so much manual administrative work. It's like, I'm meeting with a client, I'm entering in all this information. I garner all this information. I got to go back to my desk and I got to put this back into a CRM or some sort of dashboard. Or I am in my car, I have a conversation with all these different clients, and now I got to go back and do that. Like, I think AI can make that process so much more seamless. So whether it's like you're having a customer meeting and you agree with the customer that you're going to transcribe it and it's going to automatically pump that information to CRM. It's going to send those notes back to your sales, to the client or the customer. It's like the more frictionless experience that you can have when it comes to any administrative stuff, so that you as a sales leader can double down on what actually matters, which is about growth and customers and clients and stakeholders, the better that you're going to do. And I think, some of the best tools out there are things like, I'm totally tool agnostic. And by the way, it changes every single day. So whatever tool I recommend, it might suck tomorrow because something might come out and it's incredible today. But I think, when I see sales folks, they're out in the field, they're incredible speakers and talkers. I think WhisperFlow is probably the best AI tool on the planet right now when it comes to sales folks. And WhisperFlow is simply just a tool that allows you to create voice to text across any application on your phone or your desktop. So whether you're in your, desktop CRM or whether you're on any application on your phone, it can take your voice, turn it into like prose basically through text. And it's better than any, voice dictation tool. And, I've seen people become, 3 times more efficient just by leveraging, that tool. So imagine you leave like a client and you just go to WhisperFlow and you say, hey, I met with this client, blah, blah, blah. It creates, incredible email. It sends it off. Or the best case scenario is that you can enter that information and it automatically puts into your CRM or into your dashboard, your sales dashboard. That's probably the best use case for AI right now. And so I would encourage just every sales leader to take a look at their calendar and say, where am I wasting time? And saying, is there a solution that can do this? And by the way, what I would do is say, but once you do that calendar audit, I would just go to any of these large language model tools, whether it's ChatGPT from OpenAI or Claude through Anthropic or Gemini through Google. Go to any one of them and say, hey, these are my problems. This is where I'm spending the most time. What tools, AI tools, would you recommend to relieve the administrative burden that I have? And I think that's a great place to start.
It's such a great tip, because if somebody is on the way to a sales call right now, you can do that. Stop the car, take a look at, what have you done today that you might be able to get some help from some type of AI tool. And what I'm hearing you saying is look for the productivity hacks, the time savers. And one of the things I heard when you were talking was about just developing that AI muscle. Like, just getting it into your day-to-day, whether you're using it a lot or just a little bit, at least you're kind of in the game and you'll find more applications as you go. But if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're saying, I don't know if this is for me, might be late to the game.
Yeah, I totally agree, Daniel. It's kind of like, to me, it's very similar to going to the gym. I have a friend, his name is Jeff. He's the most ripped guy that I know, like amongst our father crew. He's like the most ripped, and he doesn't go to a commercial gym. He's just been working out at home for the last 25 years. Like he's like been on a prison sentence. And recently he had to redevelop his basement, and he called me the other day and he said, hey, Shawn, let's go to the gym. And I said, yeah, let's go to the gym. And let me remind you, he is the most ripped person that I know. And he went to the gym and he saw all these machines at the gym and he was completely intimidated. He was like, what do all these machines do? And, I don't care how experienced you are in your particular field. When you see new tools, you have to start from zero. And, the point of going to the gym is that it doesn't really matter where you start. It just matters that you start using some of these machines and you see what works for you. And the point of going to the gym is the hope is that the first and the second and the 500th time that you're there, that ultimately, hopefully, that the tools become light in your hand. And so I always recommend, when it comes to these AI tools, people ask me, which is the best tool? My answer is actually try all the tools, because once you try all the tools, then you will start to see what works for you. And once you try all the tools, you'll see how they interact and how they are different than others, and you're going to find use cases that work for you. And you're like, well, Shawn, it costs a lot of money to do that. Like, to me, this is, you can't be thinking about this as a software spend. This is a labor spend. And I would rather spend the $100 or $200 a month on a subscription to Claude Max, which is basically like having an employee, than actually hiring another employee on my team for, you know, 6 figures. And I'd rather have that $200 a month subscription to figure it out so that I have that. And once you shift your mindset that this is not a software spend, it's a labor spend, it changes the equation completely, because that's what exactly it is. It's a teammate. It's not a tool. And, you know, that's how I would treat AI, is that it's kind of like going to the gym, and you have to get comfortable with many tools because they're all changing very quickly, and you'll start to develop a muscle around, you know, what's going to work for you.
I love that quote. It's a teammate, not a tool. And Shawn, now that I know that you and Jeff are going to the gym, you definitely need Mama T's protein cookies. That's right for after the workout.
How many grams of protein, by the way?
21 grams of protein.
That's incredible. That's a lot of protein packed in that. God bless. I got to get a couple of those.
So Shawn, I got to ask you, what precautions should people think about going into AI, knowing that, you know, there's deep fakes, there's all kinds of, you know, cyber hacks and things. People sometimes are a little bit leery about jumping into this sort of thing, a little bit intimidated. What kind of precautions would you say that people should just keep in mind?
Yeah. You know what? I would say this is that, number one, unfortunately, you can't go slowly. You have to go quickly and dive into it. But you can do that safely, which is, you know, not putting your client or customer information in any free tool. I would trust, you know, depending on the industry that you're in and the regulations within your particular state or province or country that you're, you know, listening to this in, you know, you're probably going to be okay with a pro or enterprise, definitely an enterprise grade tool. You know, obviously depending on the state or province that you're in and the industry that you're in. You know, because it's encrypted. It has all the safeguards that most cloud service providers have, like your Googles or Apple, or, you know, if you're using any like Notion or any CRM that's on the cloud, like it has the same standards as that. So I wouldn't trust any free tool. And I would say, you know, in order to understand the downside when it comes to deep fakes or, you know, you have to play with these tools. You have to create your own deepfakes in order to understand how sophisticated the deepfakes are. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I would experiment and explore as much as I can to say, I mean, it's really easy to create a really sophisticated video or image through, you know, Google Gemini's, you know, Nano Banana Pro or ChatGPT Image 2.0. Oh, okay, I see what, you know, it can do. Oh, I see that somebody can easily send thousands of emails using my email address to a whole bunch of people. I know that this is AI. So it's like you almost need to, you know, play on the upside in order to understand the downside. And so that's what I would say. And you know, other than the confidentiality piece, I think you're gonna be okay to just explore and try some of these, especially when it comes to the leading frontier models. You're never going to go wrong with leveraging Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, because they're the leading models today and they're innovating faster than others. Yeah, it's like just push the boundaries of what those things can do.
So dive into the deep end and stay on kind of some of the major platforms. Yeah.
The reason why I say you have to go, I mean, you have to go quickly is because, like, the train has left the station. The genie's out of the bottle. You need to start. I mean, you need to start yesterday when it comes to this. My belief is that this is the most important year of your career, no matter what career you're in. I don't care if you just started your career or you're 80 years old. This is the most important year, because the difference between those that experiment and really move the needle when it comes to this AI space and those that don't, I mean, the gap is going to continue to widen. And that's why you need to build a muscle quickly around this as fast as possible. And, you know, that's my recommendation.
Shawn, I just got to tell you, I just love the passion and the enthusiasm that you have in your voice. I mean, that's one of the things that makes you a great speaker, but I like that you're so excited about this.
Yeah. You know, and I hear the same thing with you, when you speak to your guests when it comes to sales, when you find something that you are, and I've been talking about this for, a decade plus. I am so passionate and obsessed with helping organizations grow and cut costs and just think bigger and bolder. And this technology is changing every single day. It's so exciting. Like, I wake up every single day asking myself, what more can I do with this technology? And I think that's a question that everybody should be asking, which is, beyond just productivity and efficiency, we need to be asking ourselves, like, what more can this technology do? What more can we achieve now that we have, the greatest tool and the greatest technology that we've ever seen at our fingertips? And what an exciting question to ask, which is, how do we think bigger and bolder now that we have this? Like, I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. Like, and it's not even just like, it's not even that AI is going to replace thinking, or it's going to help you. It's like the most incredible assistant ever. And it allows you to just, it forces you to think bigger and bolder now that you have, all this like army of AI agents at your fingertips. It's like, if I gave you 100 MBAs from Stanford right now, you wouldn't know what to do with them, because we think in this very linear way. And that's basically what we have today. We have 100 smart MBAs from Stanford on our team right now, basically for $200 a month. And we need to start thinking, wait, what more can I do? What more can I achieve now that I have all these resources at my fingertips? Like, what an exciting time to live.
I'm excited and super excited to ask you this question, because this is one that I've got you on the podcast. I had to ask you. You're obviously on, the cutting edge of things. You're in this space, and you're further down the road than most of our listeners, I'm assuming, probably will be. So what's the scariest or the most impressive thing that you've seen AI do? Is there anything that's just kind of blown you away where you're like, I can't even believe I was able to do that?
Yeah. Well, I am blown away every day. And I think it's because I have the lens of that this is the worst, this is the least capable, and this is the least intelligent that these technologies are ever going to be. And so if you have that lens every single day, you're like, wait, it can do this. I think what I've been most impressed with, especially over the last number of months, is around the creative field. Because I know it's incredibly smart. I know it's smarter than any person on the planet right now. And I know that it can give me an incredible research, and I know it can summarize, and I know it can do all of this. But the creative field was always, people always said, well, AI could never be creative. And just seeing what AI can do when it comes to taste and design, and even over the last number of weeks and months, using things like Claude Design, or some of these Gemini's tools, or even ChatGPT 2.0 with their image, like all these agentic tools are becoming increasingly more creative, and the assets that it can produce are actually, some of them can be aesthetically beautiful. And I just think that is a realm of that I never thought that AI could really get to. And in some cases, what the AI outputs can be better than what 90% of designers can do today. And I think that's what's exciting. And it's exciting for me because I think, many people, they're not visual. They don't have that ability to visualize their ideas. But now, somebody in Bangladesh who has, very little education can spit up the same video, image, movie, design, slide deck as any, person at a Fortune 50 company with all the resources at their fingertips. And the democratization of the design capabilities, to me, and the visual capabilities is really inspiring. And I think we're such visual characters. I think, beauty and art and visuals really move the world. They always have. And the fact that we put that in the hands of everyone is really, really mind-blowing.
I hear you saying excited and inspiring. I'm wondering if some of our listeners find a little bit of that scary or threatening. And what's going to happen to the artist then? And is that going to get lost in the process if anybody can create something of beauty?
It's a great question. I would let me give you another scenario where around photography. So when the smartphone came out and everybody could take incredible pictures, and every single year the pictures that you can take are not only, more beautiful and more accurate and more stunning, but everyone can do it around the world. It is probably the most democratized uh, you know, uh, job in the world, which is photography. So then what happens to the role of photographer? Well, the reality is that there has been more photographers and more videographers that have been created, even though every single person on the planet, there are more photo devices on the planet than humans, and yet there are more photographers, and their value keeps getting, higher and higher. And it's because when something is abundant, the value of it goes up. And so the idea that you don't need a designer, or the idea that you don't need a motion graphic person or a film director, to me is not accurate. I think the great designers, this pushes great designers to create better products. It opens up the aperture for more people to be in design, and you're still going to need a designer in the mix, but it allows somebody that, is just like, they're not doing from a commercial standpoint. They just need to mock something up, or they need to get something out. I think it opens it up. So, that's what I would say to that, is that it's not destroying the designer or the artist. It's uplifting them, and it's creating more of them. And in a sense, the value of them goes up.
Your mindset is incredible. That's such a great way to look at things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you can see that, with many industries where the radiologists, people, for a decade, Jeffrey Hinton, who's the godfather of AI, said that, radiologists, there'll be no more radiologists. And reality is that there's more radiologist jobs open today than ever before, because the role of the radiologist was never just scan a picture and analyze it. It was around, patients. It was about understanding the gray. It was around relationships. And, I think, you see that with so many different jobs. And so, by Shawn, the way, I think the salesperson, I think the paradox is that in an AI world, in a digital world, that what's more important is that, I call it friction, which is, how do you double down on humanity? How do you make things that are meaningful and magical and memorable? And I actually think that the sales leader that doubles down on making something more human and tangible, and meeting somebody face to face, and meeting somebody and looking somebody in the eye, and shaking someone's hand, and going for drinks with somebody, I think all of that is going to bounce back hard, because people will be inundated with AI content and slop and AI emails, and they will only trust the people that are really putting in the extraordinary effort. So I think it's a great time for maybe even that old school sales mentality of like, how do we meet people in person, and how do we shake their hand and do things, is almost going to come back. And I think if you combine the two, which is like, you have the experimentation muscle and the exploration muscle when it comes to AI, with the idea that, wait, meeting people in person and having a real deep relationship with our clients and customers, and understanding their problems on the ground floor, is going to be important. I think the combination of the two will be incredibly disruptive.
I love it. Yeah, I think there is a spot where it can certainly complement without getting rid of that human connection, and that actually becoming more important as part of the process. I'd love to come back to your keynote, because one of the things that really impressed me is that you went on the road with a sales rep, as as part of kind of the research for it. But you really, that told me you're somebody who is willing to customize that experience, for the audience. And I'm wondering, do you think that customization is important for salespeople to think about, given that there's so many things sold, through platforms? There's so many ways to get things transactionally. Is customizing things something that's going to become more important to buyers, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, especially when it comes to a presentation, I appreciate that, I try to customize every single presentation that I do. And it's hard work. It's a lot of work, actually. But my belief is that when you customize and you make it relevant for the audience, that's 80% of the work. Because they are like, oh, wait, this person showed up and they care. And I think so much of what sales is all about is, did this person show up and they put in the extraordinary effort, and you showed up and they saw that you care. And and you can take a look on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. Like, I customize my content more than any other person on the planet, because I am so deeply invested in their transformation, and that's just putting in the work. And I think when it comes to sales leaders, doing the same, whether it's customizing their solutions or solving someone's problem and really deeply understanding their situation, the better they're going to perform. Because at the end of the day, we all just want people to care about our solution. And I think we're going to choose the person that puts in that extraordinary effort every single time. And so, that's how I try to show up, and really, with anything that I do, I try to do it with care, and I try to do it with love. That's why I showed up today with a nice camera and a nice mic, because I know that you were going to do the same. And I said, I want to show up with that level of professionalism. And I think, I know I could look like an ISIS hostage video and do it, in my room with my phone, but, showing up to everything that you do, with care is which differentiates you from everybody else.
Well, sales really has always been a relationship business. Relationships drive sales, and buyers are still human. So yes. I think you are absolutely 100% correct that when you show up with care, and when you take the time to customize something to say, I know what your problem is, and I put this together based on your specific situation, the value that you bring as a salesperson just increases. And it goes back to what you were saying in the beginning. How do you differentiate? How do you become unique? This is one way that you can do it, by helping customize solutions.
Yeah. There's this term that I love, I'm obsessed with, which is this idea of costly signaling. It's this idea that by putting in extraordinary effort, it can result in greater meaning and significance and value to your end customer. So this is why we already know this, is that the reason why a text message will not land the same way as a handwritten card. It's the reason why, I'm not sure why this is, but wine in a heavier bottle for some reason tastes better than wine in a lighter bottle in studies. It's the reason why you put in extraordinary effort, and bringing somebody out to a baseball game or to a hockey game, or bringing them to Cancun and treating them, and it's just, or meeting somebody in person, is driving all the way there, and they know how long it took, and to meet somebody in person, to remember someone's name, like all the things that require extraordinary effort, and it's almost like a sacrifice to you, is going to show that you have skin in the game, and you so deeply care about their problem, that you're willing to go above and beyond. And to me, that's something that I try to carry with almost everything that I do. It's funny, like during COVID, when everything went virtual, what my team and I did with all our keynotes, we rented out theaters, and we did that we still do that literally to this day. It's 2026, but in April of 2020, in 2020, we would rent out theaters to put out content, to do our keynotes, when people were booking like virtual keynote. And people like, why would you do that? Why would you get a team and a theater, like a 750 person theater for every single keynote? We've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. It's because when everybody can see that you put in so much effort in the production value and in the aesthetics, and you put in the time and to make it look good, people are naturally more invested in the message. And it's subtle, it's subconscious, but when people see that you put in work, people will lean in a little bit more. And that's what I've learned. Just so do things in an awe-inspiring way, and people will lean in.
Listeners, just please hit rewind on the last 5 minutes and listen to that again. Shawn is bringing the fire. That is so good, man. I got to stay on the keynote because there was another idea that I wrote down that I absolutely loved. And it was the idea of going back to zero, going from 100 back to zero and disrupting yourself. Because as I was listening to it, I was thinking of all the people that are like, I've worked so hard to get to here. Like I'm getting comfortable now. And I've put in all that work so I can kind of, put my feet up and take a little of the, the hustle out because I've earned it. Right. And sometimes the world tells us to, be as comfortable as you can. So what would you say to the sales professional that's, in the last 5, 10, or 15 years of their career, they could probably just keep doing what they're doing around this idea of disrupt yourself?
Yeah. So to me, it's incredibly, rewarding. I get it, to go from 0 to 100. You've scaled this mountain. You've developed incredible relationships. You've developed a knowledge and credentials and all this great stuff. And the natural tendency for every single human being, and I get it, is that when you're at the top, you become comfortable and you want to exploit the fruits of your labor. But the reality is that the world is changing always, and the game is not to get comfortable. It's to actually continue to put yourself and get more uncomfortable. And what you ultimately do is you keep learning, you keep growing. And there's an old Haitian proverb that says, beyond mountains there are mountains. It's this idea that in order to climb a higher mountain, you have to be able to go down your existing mountain. And that means, how do I become a rookie again? How do I reimagine? How do I learn some of these new tools? How do I keep exploring and pushing myself and going down the mountain? And what you'll realize is that you're going to build skills along the way, and then you're going to be able to launch and go up an even higher mountain when you do that. And so it's this idea that you can't get comfortable in the just being at the top. You have to keep exploring. Otherwise, you're going to get disrupted, especially in an environment that's changing very quickly.
Either grow or you're going to get stagnant.
100%. 100%.
So let me challenge you a little bit. So where's a part of your life, Shawn, that you've had to disrupt yourself so that you can get to a better version?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm always trying to challenge myself, and every single year I put a list of things around, what are some things that I'm going to fail at? What are some things that I'm going to try and try to push myself? So at the beginning of the year, we had to, about 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I used to build mobile apps. And now with this rise of the AI revolution, I'm like, I'm going to get back to that and building and rolling up my sleeves and learning how to design and code and put all these things together now that we have, this AI revolution. So it's like, it was going back to zero and like relearning that. It was about, so it to me, it's about constantly just rolling up your sleeves. So, and for me, every time something new comes out, a new AI tool or something comes out, I'm constantly just, rolling up my sleeves and saying, okay, how do I do this? How do I learn this? And then also for me, it's always not getting, it's more of a mindset, which is, always be the, just always be the, just have this mindset of appreciation. And whether it's giving up your your business class seat and sitting in the back of the plane and in economy class in the middle seat, like I do that so many times. Whether it's getting coffees for the production crew or your team, whether it's just showing up and letting your ego down. I think the tendency is that when you get experience and credentials, you have this corner office and you get comfortable and you have, and I think it's continuously saying, how do I become a rookie again? How do I approach every single day and pretend that I'm like the intern again? in a mindset that I've been trying to, that has helped me throughout my entire career, and maybe it'll help people in this, in this pod, is every single day I go to work, I ask myself, how do I try to get myself fired today? How do I try to get myself fired today? Now, that doesn't mean punching somebody in the face, but it's like, how do I walk into the work every single day and say, how do I continuously push the trajectory of what I'm doing? And how do I send that moonshot email to a client that I've been waiting to work with? How do I send that? How do I have a difficult conversation with a client that I've been waiting to have? How do I get myself fired every single day? And what you'll realize is that you won't get fired. And in fact, not only will you be unstoppable when you ask yourself that question, but you're going to continue to grow and you're going to continue to push yourself. And that's what I've been trying to do, which is ask myself, how do I try to get myself fired every single day? So I just think that, especially in a world of AI, everybody's worried about job loss. And the best thing that you can do is trying to take yourself out of a job. And the best way to take yourself out of a job is to automate all your work as much as possible. And guess what you'll realize is that the person that automates all their work, the person that actually leverages all these tools and becomes so proficient in them, not only are they going to be the most valuable person in their organization, but they're going to be the most valuable person in every single organization. So my advice is to try to get yourself fired today.
Listeners, you heard it. Try to get yourself fired today. If I get any emails back from this, Shawn, that said, I got fired today, you know what?
Love it.
What's really apparent to me, you have such a great mindset. And I love that piece around appreciation. And I can just see such a big part of your success comes from that mindset. Everything you do, the care that you put into it, that you're pushing things yourself. I can see why you've become such a popular person. So
I appreciate that. Well, I really love what I do, and I'm grateful for the work that I do. So, and I try to show up with that gratefulness every single day, because I think there's a lot of people that would love to do what I do. And I think about that a lot. So I'm just grateful, grateful to be on a pod. I mean, not many people get invited to an incredible pod like this, especially when you're on season 5. Most people, by the way, and on episode 3. So just to be on a great pod like this, to get on great stages, to meet with incredible leaders. I pinch myself every single day to be like, I can't believe I'm able to do this. So the reason why I work so hard is that maybe someday somebody will be like, hey, this is not a job. You're not allowed to do this, buddy. We've been tracking you. You're not allowed to do this. We're going to pull this back. I have that gratefulness.
Awesome. Is there anything, Shawn, that I missed that I should have asked you?
You know what? I think we covered it. I think we made it provocative. I think we made it compelling. I think the only thing that people have to do is rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do with this pod, because, Daniel's putting in the work, and we need to take this podcast. It already is the number 1 podcast in sales, but we need to take it up to the number 1 podcast and beat Joe Rogan here. So,
Joe, I'm coming for you. I hope you hear this. Shawn, where can our listeners find out more about you, everything you're doing, all the different things that you offer? Tell them where to find you.
Listen, I'm on every single platform. You can find me at Shawn Kanungo. I'm always putting out video on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. So you can follow me there, but follow this pod first, and please do reach out. I respond to every single DM and just try to be as responsive as possible.
And listeners, watch The Bold Ones on Apple TV. Yeah. Shawn, today you've helped us solve the sales problem. You gave our listeners the insights they need to thrive and succeed. You've helped them grow by enhancing what they know. Listeners, I appreciate each and every one of you. Please share the pod. We're in 40 plus countries and growing. So until the next episode, just keep creating the best version of you.